Tell them. Tell them all. Whoever comes, whoever it is, I'll kill them. I'll kill them all.
Those were up, and they did.
We're smart, and my...
He told me enough.
No, I.
Here's Chuck.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I'm here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for the second installment of a trilogy I am reviewing. And it's going to be for... yeah, it's an action franchise I've been currently reviewing. I reviewed the first film last week. And to kick off this week, I'm going to be reviewing the second film that I had rewatched last week after I reviewed the first film. And that review is going to be for none other than 2017's John Wick Chapter 2. And who was this directed by again? Was it? I have the first one, let me see. Yeah, once again directed by Chad Stahelski. So, yeah, anyway, what's the plot of this one? Well, bound by an inescapable blood debt to the Italian crime lord Satino D'Antonio, and with his precious 1969 Mustang still stolen, John Wick, the tack drum and pitiless assassin who thirsts for seclusion, is forced to visit Italy to honor his promise. But soon, the boogeyman will find himself dragged into an impossible task in the heart of Rome's secret criminal society, as every killer in her business dreams of cornering the legendary Wick, who now has an enormous price on his head. Drenched in blood and mercilessly hunted down, John Wick can surely forget a peaceful retirement, as no one can make it out in one piece. Yeah, so, what's the plot as well? In February 2015, 4 months after John Wick released and was successful, director Chad Stahelski and David Lynch stated that a John Wick sequel had begun development. In the same month, John Timber, CEO of Lionsgate, stated during a conference that they would see John Wick as a multiple-title action franchise. And it was reported that Cole Studd would return to write the screenplay. Then in May 2015, it was confirmed that a sequel was greenlit, and Lionsgate would be selling the film at the Cannes Film Festival. Reeves and Stahelski appeared in a 30-minute AOL Build interview in early February 2017 to discuss the development and casting of the film. It was also announced that Keanu Reeves, Leach, and Stahelski would return, and filming would begin in late 2015. Then in October 2015, Common joined the film to play the head of security for a female crime lord. And Ian McShane was confirmed to return as Winston, the owner of the Continental Hotel. Then in November 2015, Bridget Mondine, John Leguizamo, Thomas Zdarsky, Lance Reddick were confirmed to return, while Ruby Rose, Ricardo Sacramento, and Peter Stormare were added to the cast, due to Michael Nijdas having health problems. And in December 2015, it was announced that Lawrence Fishburne would even appear in a supporting role, and Reeves was trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu by the Makoto brothers for the role. And eventually, principal photography on the film began on October 26, 2015 in New York City. At the end of first week, filming had taken place in Manhattan. The filming then moved to Rome next, and later resumed in Montreal on October 28, 2015. Studio shots were located in New Jersey. So after they finished shooting the film and marketing the movie, John Wick Chapter 2 would premiere in Los Angeles on January 30th, 2017, and would be theatrically released in the United States on February 10th, 2017, by Lionsgate. The film was even more successful at the box office, with $171 million worldwide against its $40 million budget, which was twice the $86 million worldwide gross of the original film, and it received generally positive reviews from critics. They praised the action sequences, direction, editing, visual style, and performances of the cast, particularly Reeves. And of course, the film would go on to be followed by a third film, John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, in 2019, 2 years after this. Now, as for my reaction to this movie, well, yeah, the first film is better, but this was surprisingly a very good sequel to a great masterpiece nonetheless. I had no idea how they were going to be able to make a sequel to the first film as the first one kind of ended the story on a pretty satisfying note. However, it turns out they successfully pulled it off. I even really like how we basically start right where the first movie left off, as we show John Wick finally retrieving his now wrecked stolen car and finally going back home for good. The plot is easy to understand and the action sequences are brilliant. So much bloodshed, guns, fighting, killing, and more guns. Yeah, did I mention guns already? Yeah, I did. But it's just a nice, easy, and fun watch. And I definitely recommend watching the first if you haven't already, but yeah, I'm impressed by this. I was also very impressed by this sequel. Chapter 2 picks up not too long after the first film, and after Wick has finally found his car, he is now someone enjoying his life as a retired assassin. If the first one was about him coming back to seek revenge, this film is Rick reluctantly coming back because he owes a debt to another assassin. I don't think the filmmakers surely could have imagined this would be a franchise off the bat, but it's sure shaping up to be quite the intriguing universe. Like, this one thing that has really struck me about appealing in this series is the way they portray the world Wick lives in. Yes, it's present day, but the world that surrounds Wick is heightened to make for more exciting action. It's essentially a world full of super assassins. At the same time, the films are incredibly grounded with reality. It's that balance that so few films can accomplish in that particular level. And taking the famous Liam Neeson line from the film Taken, "I will kill you," to a whole new level, Wick claims that he will kill them all. And that's pretty much your movie. Wick doesn't want to come back. He owes a debt and is forced to return for one more kill. And then the bounty on his head reaches just about everyone linked to the Continental's database. The rest of the movie is Wick delivering and killing blows to just about anyone who stands in his way in the most creative ways possible. Like, isn't it about time to people just leave this guy alone already? Like, John Wick Chapter 2 promised visceral action, all impressive in camera, yeah, I'm looking at you, Resident Evil. And we got just that. Even if the dialogue can be clunky and some of the performances over the top, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the series continues to be a pleasant surprise in an age where great action movies are too few and far between. The film and it perfectly continues from the first one with a great level of balance, like respecting the first film and allowing a 2-hour film to have its own identity without dragging was a challenge that was met well. And it pretty much avoids just rehashing the first film. For change, and the Lawrence Fishburne element and the subsequent ending allow a great opening for another film even, which I'll get to in a bit. Another strength of the movie is that John Wick's character, much like Neo, is so well suited for Keanu Reeves. Like, he's this strong sound type and feels Chad Stahelski. The director glorifies this and uses it to move the story forward. It gives you the same in an enhanced but similar format. And Reeves is perfect as John Wick, and there's nobody else for that role. What he does with the action here in this one is extraordinary. Like, and hats off just about everyone involved in stunts because I can tell how much hard work went into it. The rest of the cast is great, even Shane, Lawrence Fishburne, Franco Nero, Peter Stormare, etc., and lots of respect to them all. Like, everyone has a very welcome presence. The calmer scenes are very nice too, and I could actually watch an entire movie about just a normal calm day with Keanu and the dog. Their friendship is pretty touching me. Like, I don't know, like, there's something very humble and beautiful. Never see them living a quiet life before all the action starts. The movie is not completely serious either. It has many funny moments as well. Some more funny moments than the first one, honestly. Especially at a part involving a walk to the subway. And there's this moment with a water fountain which I really liked. The locations they used here are pitch perfect, by the way. I mean, I kind of wish I'd love to visit many of these locations now after watching this film. Now, what I really want to praise the film for, though, is how the plot works with the world building so well. We have a much more complex plot than the original here, involving intrigue, power, plays, bounties, things of the like, and throughout the movie used this as a way to introduce more lore to this universe where everyone seems to be part of the connected web of crime. There is a High Council which plays a background role in the film. I expected they'll be and they pretty much were a bigger deal in the third one. And rules of the Continental Hotel are played with a bit more. We see an entire network of assassins later in the film. All this adds layers to the John Wick universe, and it's really great how they use the plot to do that. The characters are all good, and the movie is well acted. Keanu Reeves is good for this role, where he has minimal dialogue and is emoting his restraint, and this is a man who's basically empty inside at this point. Like, Common and Lawrence Fishburne's characters also really stood out to me. And Common and Keanu have 2 extended fight scenes, which really appropriately balance intensity and humor. And Lawrence Fishburne is kind of only in one scene of the movie, but he was really fun to watch still. And everyone's like praising the surface level stuff in this film offers up, and I don't really blame them. But I just want to point out that this film is basically kind of a tragedy. It kind of ends with John Wick homeless, unable to return to the hotel, running from basically everyone in New York who wants to kill him for $14 million. And throughout the film, you get the kind of sense that John doesn't want to be here, killing people, and the use of reflection shots throughout the film really punctuates the theme of past choices. Like, it's depressingly ironic that the maker John Wick used to get out of the first time is the very thing that brings him back in, for possibly the rest of his life. And the final action scene is entirely set in an exhibition called Reflection of the Soul, which is basically a hall of mirrors. This makes for an interesting action sequence, but also for a very interesting thematic moment. And while John Wick may be surprisingly layered for an action hero, the film is even incredibly efficient in the information we are given and how it is given to us. Like, John Wick is a strong sound type, and most of what we know about him is shown throughout the editing and the acting, which bluntly conveys emotion of what it should. The very physical performance of Keanu Reeves. Many other performances in the film are fantastic as well, especially in McShane and the short cameo by Lawrence Fishburne. The world building is also impressively done, with just most of it being shown to us, and only what needs to be explained being explained to us. And such as the two roles of this business, and sometimes character and world building is woven into the action, and it has still incredible action, and hands down some of the best action scenes of this decade. This whole franchise has some of the best action scenes of this decade. And probably in some sequent decades before it. Chases, hand-to-hand combat, shootouts, you name it, it's all here. It is fantastically shot and edited, perfectly choreographed, and consistently creative and intense. The frame is wide, and the shots each last long enough to have a clear view of the brutal, precisely choreographed action. Like many action scenes in modern Hollywood, there were several moments where my jaw was just dropping at how intense and consistently original the action was. Even though John takes out hundreds of people, there's always a genuine sense of struggle in each fight, and each encounter is unpredictable, with a constant sense that a fight could break out in almost any moment. And you can really tell the director Chad Stahelski is truly someone who knows about action films. And I even heard there was a stunt double. He was even a stunt double on Keanu Reeves in the Matrix trilogy. Therefore, like, he's someone who knows the art of action. Because, like, one of the problems with action movies today are the stunts and the editing. Then in John Wick Chapter 2, Reeves looked like he's doing a majority of the stunts, and the fight scenes are an annoying, trendy, and lazy, shaky camera work. You can tell what's happening, who's being hit, the location, and how well everything is choreographed. Like, I have not seen action scenes filmed like this in years. Accordingly, the people who are also part of the crime organization are even cool, stylish, and at times, thought it would be kind of a cool world to be a part of. Like, these criminals and assassins stay hidden in this deep, dark, crime-filled society. So the film does a fantastic job of expanding on this universe. It really is the role of narrative, which is showing us and not telling us, which is a key factor of storytelling. Like, everything in this world unfolds in action, dialogue, and scenes through the film. Like, Common and Reeves easily have the best fight scene in the movie. It looks like it was all well done in perfectly one take. A very amazing scene, and Common still does play the terrific bad guy, especially considering I think this might be his first action film he's done since Smoking Aces in 2007. Like, it really shows. And I do love the introduction of the Bowery King, who's the cameo from Lawrence Fishburne. In his brief scene, kind of somewhat references The Matrix, since him and Keanu Reeves were both in the Matrix trilogy together. And to me, this is without a doubt the true Morpheus and Neo reunion, to my eyes. Right? However, sadly though, while there are some reasons why I don't like this one as much as the first film. First off, the flaws. The flaws I have are basically that the action is kind of a little too repetitive at times, and the assassin girl speaks in sign language, is built up throughout the film, and she gets literally taken out in like 40 seconds. And the film does feel a bit too long, not the segment of Rome, but when John returns to New York, its quick pace suddenly halts when he visits a friend. Though this scene is okay, I feel like they could have cut it in favor of keeping up with John's mysterious background. And I even find this entry to have more motion blur. Like, looking it up, both movies used it Arri Alexa, and I kind of noticed digital cinematography seems more prone to that problem. It was just kind of a minor disappointment, minor being the operative world, but it's still miles ahead of the 10 cuts a second shaky cam epidemic plagued modern action cinema. And last small complaints, While John Wick suffers from the John McClane real but still invincible action dilemma, he's also a superhuman weapons handling expert to a fault. Like, for example, every time John Wick reloads a gun and racks his gun, he does a secondary press check for ensure there's a bullet in the chamber. And in the middle of a heated, fast-paced shootout. The step seems excessive, time-consuming, and unnecessary though, but it looks cool. Like, I guess, but it couldn't need to be done every time. Like, a small case of tactical trumping practical, but now also, some other things I forgot to mention I do like, I really like also, I think my favorite kill in this movie is the pencil. Easily the pencil kill. Like, it shows you don't just need, that scene alone just shows you don't need guns to suddenly have a good action scene. And let's not forget the cliffhanger ending. Man, the cliffhanger ending of this movie is extremely haunting, because after, what's this villain's name again? I mean, like, after John Wick ends up pretty much killing his nemesis because he won't leave the Continental Hotel, he knows he's not going to leave the hotel and is just going to keep chasing after him. So, at this rate, he's just done screwing around, and he pretty much decides to just shoot his nemesis on Continental grounds, which pretty much, even though Winston keeps warning him not to, and Winston just looks on in despair and says, "John, what have you done?" And then John goes back to his now burnt house, realizing he can't really be there anymore. He has no home now. It's over. He has nowhere to live now. So he pretty much goes for one last meeting with Winston, who tells him that he is now excommunicado, aka if excommunicado in the Continental means if you kill someone in the Continental, you are cut off from the Continental, and the Continental will find you and they will execute you if you kill somebody on their hotel grounds. So pretty much John Wick is now going to be a victim of that, and he has a 1 million bounty on him. And it's a perfectly edited shot here, because while Winston's talking, you see people walking around them just suddenly stop when they see the two of them. And you can kind of get that hint, like almost everybody in New York is connected to the Continental. And John Wick gives that epic warning. Tell them, whoever comes, I'll kill them all. And Winston gives him a perfect 1 hour head start, because he's still John Wick's friend, so he still allows him like 1 hour starts, gives him this coin to use, and then John Wick immediately slowly starts to run through Central Park as people are staring at him. Even some homeless guys are in the park are even staring at him with the ready to hunt down looks. So like, it really captures that haunting feeling. You know John Wick is screwed, and he's not going to get out of this one easy. Like, the hotel's now against him, he's homeless, and he's even limping too, so it kind of really, this is probably the most haunting cliffhanger of the series. Because you have no idea how he's going to get out of this. And it's a perfect setup for Chapter 3. So yeah, despite some of the earlier nitpicks I mentioned before, those forgotten good qualities, John Wick Chapter 2 is a very good sequel to the best action movie of the 2010s, and has a perfect setup for the third film. In the end, I would recommend watching and buying this movie for those who love the first film and want to see more of the legendary assassin and more crazy action scenes. Anyway, that's it for my review of John Wick Chapter 2. If you're wondering how I'm going to rate John Wick Chapter 2, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you loved Chapter 1 and want to see John's story expand and go into even more crazier territory for the action sequences, then I would easily recommend watching this movie and buying this movie for your collection for sure. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rate John Wick Chapter 2, I'm going to give John Wick Chapter 2 an 8 out of 10. There we go. That wraps up my review for John Wick Chapter 2, so y'all know. Now I gotta, of course, rewatch John Wick Chapter 3. Yeah, now that I am really hyped to watch, because that is actually my second favorite film in the series. And yeah, so, okay, I'll put you there. And I'll put you next. There. There you go. So yeah. But until then, guys, that'll be it for this review. Thank y'all for watching. If you like this, want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe to Don G. Corleone.